The Florida Gators wide receiver room not getting enough respect that it deserves from outside influences, we'll say. But we're going to talk about that here on Locked On Gators bonus episode.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Gators bonus episode, second episode of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy Monday evening. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. If you have not yet signed up for Florida Victorious, do so. Use promo code LOCKED, LOCKED, to save 20% off of your first month. And if you don't sign up for Florida Victorious, that's okay too. But you're not allowed to complain about recruiting. Recruiting goes into NIL, or Florida Victorious goes into NIL. NIL plays a part in recruiting. So that's my take now. We're talking about the Florida Gators receiver room today because I feel like it's a polarizing subject. I know JT Wistersill with Locked On Utes is kind of right in the crosshairs of some Florida Gators fans because of what he's said about the receiver room. And I will say the same thing I said because initially JT said they're solid, but they don't scare him. And then he said they're below average. My stance is I don't think you can make a definitive assessment of them in any direction. I think they're going to be pretty damn good this year. I don't think you can make that assessment, though, definitively. We know what the Florida Gators have in Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall, of course, was at Arizona State, transferred to Florida. Last year was his first year as a Gator. This year is going to be his second year as a Gator, and he's going to be the best year of his career, no doubt in my mind, provided he stays healthy. We know what Florida has in him. He's a dynamic route runner, explosive with the ball in his hands, pretty solid hands. And by pretty solid, I mean pretty damn good hands. But then behind him is kind of just like, what are we going to see? I think when you look at Caleb Douglas, he is next man up, in my opinion. I remember when Caleb committed to Florida last year. I was stoked, and I'm stoked this year that he's going to be stepping into a bigger role as an X receiver here. I think that the way that he can just space vertically is kind of impressive for someone that I don't think has elite speed. Solid size. I think he could stack DBs and get by them pretty well. And I think that he's relatively sure-handed as far as contested catches. I know he's had like one or two drops, and Gators fans are just like, he sucks. He's Eric Ebron. Not exactly the case. I think Caleb Douglas is going to kind of eat up a bit this year. And I do think that he is one player that it's hard to project chemistry. I think he's someone that Graham Mertz is going to like to throw to. Graham Mertz throughout his career has liked to throw to these big-bodied receivers, guys that can get vertical, at least from the seams usually. But this time you got Caleb Douglas doing that. And also, Graham Mertz hasn't had the best receivers at Wisconsin. Now he's got better receivers in Gainesville. So I think Caleb Douglas is someone that I do think Graham Mertz is going to like to throw to. He's a big target, large catch radius. Fully expect that. Marcus Burke, also a big body, but Marcus Burke's more of a fast player. I think he's big and fast. I don't think he's particularly agile, but also the dude is like shredded out of his mind. It's insane. And I don't mean like he's just like, yo, I just mean like he has like no body fat whatsoever. It's kind of insane, but great straight line speed. We've seen him be able to go up and get it before. Like that's something that he's had to do throughout his career. I think now he takes that next step. He's someone that I will say, I feel like every year that Marcus Burke's been here, we've been like, all right, it's Marcus Burke time. And then it hasn't totally worked out that way. I do think this year he's going to play more of that Xavier Henderson role, while Caleb Douglas plays more of the Justin Shorter role. And I think that Marcus Burke's going to benefit from that. I also think he's going to be one of the guys that comes into the slot every now and then. Not that that's necessarily where he belongs, but Ricky Pearsall is going to work in the slot and work outside. I think Marcus Burke has had experience in the slot, so sometimes we're going to see him there. I think those are your three main guys that you have to talk about when you talk about the Florida Gators receivers. Ricky Pearsall, Caleb Douglas, Marcus Burke. Not to discount players or count players out like Jaquavian Frazier's. I just think Caleb and Marcus are more likely to have productive seasons. I think that they're more likely to play more than Jaquavian Frazier's. I think in the red zone, you're going to see a lot of Jaquavian Frazier's. I think in the red zone, you're going to see Caleb Douglas, Jaquavian Frazier's, Ricky Pearsall, Arliss Boardingham, and then a running back. And you're just going to be like, all right, good luck defending that. Or maybe even instead of Arliss, you see like Hayden, like 6'6", and you just go, all right, good luck. We have three people we get throw jump balls to. Good luck. And that's how you kind of approach defenses, and you kind of just honestly just disrespect the hell out of them with that size, and you just make them go earn it. So I think when you look at that, you go, okay, damn. Solid receivers. I think you can say that they're projected to be solid. Again, I don't think you can definitively say anything. And I know people want to be definitive. It's Ricky Pearsall and a bunch of unproven players. Not that they've proven to be good, not that they've proven to be bad. It's Ricky Pearsall and a bunch of unproven players. That's what makes it hard to really assess them. And then you add in the freshmen. You add in the 2023 freshmen. We'll talk about in just a second. Before I talk about them, I do want to talk to you guys about LinkedIn, because these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. And with simple tools like screening questions, makes it easier for you to focus on just the right candidates with the right experience. Maybe you interview them. Maybe you hire them. But at least you know you're getting the best candidates available, right? There's a reason that small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. And now we're talking about the Florida Gators freshmen here, because I get it. Gators fans, myself included, and Gators Twitter, we're high on these freshmen. We are Andy Jean, Eugene Wilson III, and Aidan Mizell. We love them. We think they're going to be great. I think it's important to kind of temper expectations for 2023. Not that they're not good. This is going to be a team that runs the football a lot. And there's going to be a team that has one or two tight ends on the field. I mean, there's only so many options for receivers, especially when you consider Ricky Pearsall as a starting receiver. He's going to play the most snaps provided he stays healthy. And he's going to play the most snaps by a pretty large margin. If you have a running back, two tight ends, and Ricky Pearsall, you have one other spot that takes snaps. If you have a tight end, a running back, and Ricky Pearsall, two other spots to take. There's only so many snaps to go around. There's only so many opportunities to go around. Andy Jean is the most game ready of the bunch, I believe. I think that, he's been here since he was an early enrollee, so he's been here since January. He's been working with this team. He's been flashing. He's been developing as a route runner, where that was already his strength coming into this whole team. He's been impressive athletically. Andy Jean's the most game ready of the bunch. I'm still not sure just how, he's going to play against Utah. We know that. He's not going to start, or at least I wouldn't expect that. And I don't expect him to play more than 15, 20 snaps. But I do think he's the most game ready of the three receivers available. And we'll talk about Eugene Wilson III, who was, I believe, the highest rated consensus. I believe he was an on-3 5-star receiver there. Most dynamic playmaker of the bunch. No doubt about it. However, I'm bearish on how much he's going to contribute right away. Mostly because Eugene Wilson III, a mid-year enrollee. So he's been here since July. So mid-year enrollee. He's got to pick up the playbook, develop chemistry. He's got to be able to actually go out there and execute the playbook. He did have a hamstring injury for a little bit. So that limited his ability to do that, to go out there and show that he could do it, to learn how to do things that he might be struggling in. So for me, I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of a hard time saying Eugene Wilson III is going to step in right away and be an incredible playmaker or an incredibly consistent force here. I think that the best bet for Eugene Wilson is give him some design touches and let him just make plays. Let him be the motion man. Hand it off to him. I don't care. Put him in the backfield. I don't care. But I think that the best way for him, especially now that Cam Carroll's out for the year, put Eugene Wilson back there and just let him make some plays out there. I think that he gives you a dynamic playmaker. I think he's the most dynamic playmaker with the ball in his hands. I'm not sure he's going to be ready to take on a large role right away. And then Aidan Mizell is very thin, so fast. Probably the fastest player, not just receiver, fastest player on the entire team immediately. Legit track speed. I'm not sure. He's also very thin. Not sure how big of a role he can handle right now. However, I've said before, you could put him on the field. I don't care if you ever look his way. Just let him run a straight freaking line. Let him run a post and just make the defense respect him. And if they don't respect him, throw that thing up. Throw that thing over in their mountains, okay? Because Aidan Mizell has game-breaking speed. So I don't care how big of a role any of these guys have. I think there's a role for all of them early on. I just don't think it's going to be like, all of them are getting 500 to 600 yards this year. I don't think that's realistic. However, again, I do think that there's a path to playing time for all of them. It's just a matter of how much is available there. So I think that the receivers, pretty much all unproven besides Ricky Pearsall. But I think there's a lot of potential here. It's a matter of will these players reach that potential? And that's what we're looking for in the receiver room from this year compared to last year. Because last year, the receivers just underwhelmed everywhere. Ricky Pearsall made great plays. Him and Anthony Richardson did not have great chemistry. Anthony Richardson and Justin Shorter had some pretty solid chemistry. Justin Shorter dealt with a couple injuries here and there. Okay. Xavier Henderson was just in a role that didn't fit him at all. It was rough. Now this year, things look to be opened up a little bit more. Things seem to be in a better spot than they were last year. So I think that with receivers, you're going to see significantly better production from them this year. Again, it's just, will any individual pop off? Because there's so many mouths to feed and limited opportunities. We'll see, but Florida's receiver room's in a better spot than it was last year, without a doubt. So we take that as a big win here. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day, or your second listen, because this is the second episode of the day. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole 9 Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33, and I'll see you all tomorrow.